Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Saturday, November 15th, 2014 edition of Wrestle Talk Show. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, here to bring you the latest and greatest professional wrestling news, bits, rumors, anything and everything wrestling. We cover it. Independent, pro, doesn't matter. I want to take this time to start our introduction plugs. Remember, you can follow us both at facebook.com/CWE Company. Follow the show at facebook.com/WrestleTalkShow. On Twitter at CWE Company. On this YouTube page, and until we physically again link it, 3 years worth of video, hours and hours of free content available, along with this, which I believe is youtube.com/Joshua Zimmerman. But youtube.com/CWE Company has the start and the majority of our content. And this is to complement that until we get the link ups to work. As you know, Google links with everything else. And it is why you can email your questions, comments, concerns for the show and for our wrestling company, Continental Wrestling Entertainment, to joshuarzimmerman@gmail.com. We advise you can send resumes, pictures, comments, concerns for the show, resumes for Continental Wrestling Entertainment. We encourage you to specify what your email concerns in the subject header so that we can properly address it and apply it to the show. Again, joshuarzimmerman@gmail.com. We're also on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/CWE Company. We encourage our business associates and affiliates to network with us there. It's a great professional networking tool, and I encourage any business or aspiring business to use it. Moving on to the world of professional wrestling, here we go with today's news and headlines. Hulk Hogan, in a recent interview, calls Steve Austin a coward. Talks John Cena, Punk, Sting, and more. Jim Kazimar of Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area interviewed Hulk Hogan this week, who was promoting this weekend's WrestleMania ticket sale festivities. The full interview is available at the video itself. Part 1 and Part 2 of the interview is available at our friends WrestlingInc.com. Remember to follow our friends at SmartWrestlingFan.com with their weekly show, PWTorch.com with their daily show, Monday through Friday. On Mondays, the hour before Raw, Tuesday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. Everything here, remember, will be set in Eastern Standard Time. Hogan was interviewed this week, who was promoting this weekend's WrestleMania ticket sale festivities. Hogan talked how big WrestleMania week was and said it's bigger than anything going today. He talked about his WrestleMania memories and joked how he can't win a match in Toronto, noting that he lost to Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 and The Rock at WrestleMania 18. When asked about a comeback, he talked about John Cena wearing his colors now and how hustle, loyalty, respect was a lot like his training, say your prayers and take your vitamin stick, and said there was a little bit of a gimmick infringement there. Hogan then said that he wants, quote, to get the coward that's hiding under the weeds, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Hogan said that Austin would be fun to beat up and that he'd love to open up a can of whoop-ass on him. Hogan was given 4 names. The Undertaker, quote, wow. Sting, wow. CM Punk, oh please, and Hulk Hogan, and was asked who was most likely to have a match at WrestleMania. Hogan answered, Sting, feeling he has something to prove. He added that he thinks CM Punk is out of the picture completely. He details in the interview the events that led him being asked not to return to the WWE in the early 80s. WWE superstar departure is confirmed. Sources within WWE confirmed to F4W Online Friday that Dalif Sairana, who is known in-ring as the Great Khali, is no longer with the organization after his profile on WWE.com was transferred to the WWE alumni section on Thursday. It was noted to both websites that the 42-year-old's contract expired this past week and the company officials opted not to renew it. Sai joined WWE in January of 2006, becoming the first Indian professional wrestler to be signed to a contract by the organization. He debuted on the main roster that April alongside Daivari and would later have alliances with Jinder Mahal. Alliances with Rajnan Sai and Jinder Mahal. However, he spent most of his career as a singles competitor, and in 2007 he became World Heavyweight Champion by squashing Rey Mysterio. Go figure. In what will go down as his final match, Sai submitted to Rusev's accolade on at the October 28th SmackDown taping. Are more releases ahead in the WWE? According to Mets fan Forever, who is known for leaking things, a former WWE backstage worker who has broken... let me rephrase that. He's a former WWE... has broken backstage news before. A former WWE backstage worker who is a former WWE backstage worker and has broken multiple WWE news and produced show scripts on Reddit.com in the recent month. Talent cuts are on the horizon. I've heard releases are coming. This is probably the start of things, he said in response to the speculation that WWE and the Great Khali are parting ways after his profile was moved to the alumni section. I've been told about a few, but I don't know what to speculate right now. In June, Mets fan Forever broke news of JTG's release shortly before it was announced on WWE.com. Rumor killer on WWE release, The Miz credits The Rock, and Foley news. Sky Sports recently held a Q&A with The Miz, which can be read at WrestlingInc.com. During the Q&A, The Miz talked about The Rock being one of his favorite wrestlers and said The Rock was the major reason for him entering the business. As noted on WrestlingInc.com, Brad Maddox's profile is listed in the alumni section on WWE.com. Several readers sent word that Maddox's profile was actually moved to the alumni section when he was storyline fired from his job as Raw GM. Through this Sunday night, and savings for our fans, through this Sunday night, you can get tiered savings at WWEshop.com. Save 15% off orders, 20% off orders over 50, and 15, 20, and 25% are being offered what we have noted here is 20% off orders over 50 and 25% on orders over 75. So 15% must be they're going to give it to you anyway. Unless that's the minimum, the medium, the in between before the $50 savings. I'd like to think save 15% when you save 25%, but maybe they're going to give that 15% whether you spend $25 or $200. So I encourage people, look at the clearance stuff first. I always do, and it's not really to be cheap. It's just to you're likely to find something on your favorite wrestler in there. Another thing I encourage fans to do is when we go to Raw or SmackDown or whatever during the year, we usually go to one or the other at least once a year, or at least a major pay-per-view when it's in the area, is although it's illegal, they're never going to stop. Let's just face it. Right before, if you tailgate at these events, like an hour before, and usually for an hour to two afterwards. Actually, the most recent one was a Raw, and they stand right out along the exit of the Wachovia Center. Is find a good scab vendor, I'll call them, with good printing, not the kind of printing that you wash it once and your t-shirt will just become a plain black t-shirt. But for $10, I've had the same John Cena hustle, loyalty, respect, and featuring the Monday Night Raw logo on the back for about 4 years now, ever since hold on. I've had that shirt ever since going to the show 2009, I believe that last Raw was where I got that shirt. And it's not to say that not to support WWE products, but let's be realistic. You've already spent a minimum, like we talk about with the tickets, you spend a minimum of $40 for their cheapest ticket, and then the cheapest you can get just because of that WWE official sticker, kind of like the NFL gear. They want 25 and up in the shops once you get in there, not to mention $7 sodas, $9 beers, and $4 pretzels. But if you want to, WWE has cracked down on it, but again, it does not stop them. They just move away from the venue, kind of why we caught them on the road leading out of the Wachovia Center. Make sure any decent vendor, even though they're not photoshopping, even though they're creating their own product, will let you see the product before you purchase it. Take a feel of the images, kind of bend the shirt at the point where the emblems are to see if it cracks. If it cracks, it means that or the feel of it, that shiny, sticky, slap-on, iron-on kind of deal, usually means that over the course of washing, within 3 to 6 washes, your black t-shirt that, say, featured The Undertaker is actually going to be all bits and pieces by the time your washer and dryer are done with it. But again, there is some great quality to be had even out of the bootleggers, even though, again, WWE does not condone it and has fired Earl Hebner as a result of it. NXT star talks going from soccer to professional wrestling, and WWE wrapping up its tour. Soccer AM recently spoke to NXT star Hugo Knox at the WWE Performance Center, which you can watch at WrestlingInc.com. Knox talked about entering professional wrestling following his career as a soccer football goalkeeper. Quote, I've left the football dressing room where most lads are skinny and run around for 90 minutes, but these guys here picking me up and throwing me around like I'm a little boy, Knox said. It's daunting, but it's a challenge I'm looking forward to succeeding at. WWE will be wrapping up their overseas tour this weekend, with shows in Germany and Italy. Hogan appears at an NBA game. Daniel Bryant's Midnight Madness flyer revealed. Hulk Hogan made an appearance at last night's Golden State Warriors NBA game in Oakland, which you can watch at WrestlingInc.com or on YouTube in general. Hogan also took over the Golden State Warriors Twitter account for a little while. Here are some of his tweets. Quote, I gotta say, those hashtag Splash Brothers are one hell of a tag team. Hashtag Hulk Takeover. Quote, had a lot of fun out on the court tonight. Been in this building many times over the years and the fans never disappoint. Hashtag Hulk Takeover. Been coming to this arena and the Cow Palace since 1978. A lot of wars were fought down on that floor, brother. Hulk Takeover. At NBA on TV, at Shaq, the 24-inch Pythons and the Shaq Attack are on the same team. Together we are the ultimate superpowers, brother. As noted earlier, Daniel Bryan will appear at the midnight release for WWE 2K15 this Monday at GameStop at 14th Street in New York City. Brock Lesnar news, and a Hall of Famer pulled from an indie event. Booker T was scheduled to make an appearance for Northeast Wrestling in Danbury, Connecticut on Friday night, but WWE pulled him so he could appear at the WrestleMania 31 ticket party at Levi Stadium. Bully Ray will be replacing Booker at the new meet and greet. WWE stock was down 5.16% today, closing at $12.13 a share. Today's high, meaning yesterday's, by the way. All this is yesterday's news into today's news. Today's news was obviously at the top. Today's high was $12.88 and the low $12.88 a share, and the low was $12.05 a share. WWE has added World Heavyweight Champion Brock Lesnar to the February 9th WWE Raw from Columbus, Ohio. A long written note from CM Punk on Marvel's Superior Foes of Spider-Man number 17 will take over the final page of the final issue that comes out next week. Good news for TNA, which it always needs. Viewership rating up for this week's TNA Impact. Wednesday's episode of TNA Impact Wrestling drew a 0.84 cable rating, up from last week's 0.75. This week's show drew 970,000 viewers, up from last week's 930,000. Last week's Impact failed to make the top 100 shows on cable, but ranked number 43 this week in overall viewers. The February 2015 edition of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which features PWI's annual Female 50 rankings, was released earlier yesterday, to subscribers of the magazine's digital edition. WWE's Paige grabbed top honors after coming in at number 12 last year. Her arch rival AJ Lee was a runner-up in this year's rankings, up from ninth place last year. Indie grappler Kat Von Heens rounded out the list at number 50. Below are rankings 1 through 10. In order: Paige, AJ Lee, Gail Kim, cheerleader Melissa, LaFistu, Angelina Love, Ivy Lease, Courtney Rush, Natalia, and Charlotte. PWI senior writer Dan Murphy, who compiled the rankings, told WrestlingInc.com that this year was one of the most competitive evaluation periods in the history of the Women's 50. Quote, "There's been a lot of incredible surge in the popularity of women's wrestling over the past few years," Murphy explained. Quote, "This can be seen in WWE with the emergence of Total Divas and the rise of both Paige and AJ Lee. In TNA with the competition for the Knockouts title, and on the independent level with thriving women's promotions like Shimmer, Shine, WSU, and NCW, Femme Fatales, among others." Murphy expounded upon the rise of Total Divas and its impact on the selection process, stating this year was particularly difficult due to the Total Divas effect. You had a few women who were featured very prominently on WWE TV, which is really the goal of any wrestler, male or female, who may not have been strong wrestlers in a technical sense, but still wrestled more than 100 matches on the national stage, which is an incredible accomplishment. All in all, Murphy described this year's list as eclectic and potentially controversial. In addition to the female top 50, the new issue of PWI also includes features on each of the current heavyweight champions from the industry's 3 most prominent promotions: Brock Lesnar from WWE, Bobby Roode, TNA, and Jay Briscoe from Ring of Honor. Up-and-coming rookie Tessa Blanchard, daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Tully Blanchard, is profiled in the issue's One to Watch section, and the volume also includes an 8-page, quote, press conference feature on Cesaro. The magazine can be purchased at PWI's official website beginning at noon on Thursday, November 14th. So, for today's hot topic, I want to thank my friend Eric Larner again from Facebook.com, and a fan of the show, because for about an hour, 2 hours, we had a nice back and forth on everything that's wrong with the WWE. And I want to bring up a topic that I don't think I've really discussed since I actually made a show of it and the WWE, and that is the WWE still to this day, with the economy the way it is and everything like that, WWE still insists on listing its wrestlers as independent contractors instead of employees, simply because when you list some contract and list someone on your books as an independent contractor, you can provide them insurance, but you're not legally obligated to. WWE over the years has used many excuses, from they know the risks to our contracts pay them enough money. But you're talking to someone who not only notes to you guys the results of the conference calls, but I physically sit through the conference call while the rebroadcasts, once they're done, they post it on the corporate site every quarter. And there's a couple things that I need to get off my chest. We talked a couple shows about how WWE, once it bought everybody out, it basically became the default. And it's basically treating its fans as the default. Oh, you guys, we're the only wrestling game in town. TNA sucks in comparison. But like I said last show, sources have said, and they have proven since being pulled from Spike TV tentatively, and they were worried about their deal, their house shows, they turned it around and have gotten better ever since. They don't take their fans and they don't take the wrestling for granted. To bring it full circle, you're talking about WWE, and a business that regardless, even though fan attendance is down, network subscriptions are down because, like I said, they used to have everything in platforms when it came to reporting gains and losses, and pay-per-view was always different than live attendance, but now pay-per-view is factored into the network since it's on the network. Or you can be a dumbass and spend $80 with your local cable provider, which I wouldn't be a bit surprised WWE is hoping for, even though they want that subscriber rate to go up after Vince McMahon spent 4 years, again, illegally snowballing. And I'll say this out loud, I'm calling you out, Vince McMahon. As a matter of fact, I'll do this one better. I'm calling you out so much that I encourage you to call me. 267-503-3285. You cannot assume that wrestling fans will just simply give you their money as they have in the past. As fan attendance gets lower and lower every quarter, these shareholders, for some reason, keep eating it up. No one is asking if this happened in any other business, not talent, the chairman would be removed, would be voted out. Instead, the shareholders, I guess because the only logical explanation is they're still generating what I'll call that default money. Oh, wrestling fans are wrestling fans. We're the only show to watch. So either way, we're still going to make money every year. And yeah, that's true. But it's pretty sad when I'm seeing videos of kids wrestling better with the captions from my wrestling associates saying these two kids have a better I'll call it a kiddie match, have a better kiddie match than WWE's current product. Never once assume that a wrestling fan will always give you their money. And I think wrestling fans have proven that by just outright, because there is no competition, just outright said, call me when the product gets better, I'm done. And a wrestling fan should never have to leave the product because WWE doesn't want to listen to its fans. And Vince McMahon and company, Stephanie, Triple H included, should be removed from power, literally, and I'm not talking storylines, and let someone with actual business sense come in, because it's obvious this family does not care about the fans anymore, and they've gotten so accustomed to the board just going in their favor that they feel they can do whatever they want. In the meantime, the product has suffered, live attendance has suffered, the network in which you hid money and manipulated money out of the shareholders, pushed the release back 2 years. Every quarterly conference call, you kept saying it's coming. It was a bait and switch to get what you wanted, and now one can only hope that this time, as of a year from the network launch, that a shareholder or a group of shareholders, because they're the only ones that can do it, say, it's one thing, like I said to my friend Nathan, it's one thing to have a mistake, but it's another thing when that mistake consistently repeats itself and then Vince McMahon gets on a conference call and tries to justify it. Instead of firing talent and staff who have shown you their loyalty, the McMahons should be removed from their own company. Bring in some wrestling consultants and bring in business professionals that know what they're doing. Again, we encourage you to post your opinions send your emails to joshuazimmerman@gmail.com. Like us, subscribe to us, comment on it directly on the Facebook pages, Wrestle Talk Show and CWE Company. Post directly on the YouTube channels, and we'll factor it all in. But for now, we hope you all have a great day, and thanks for joining us. Lost my train of thought. WWE, to close, WWE makes so much money, so much default money, that Vince, you're only going to be able to justify not giving them insurance for so long. Even part-time workers at the Joe Blow grocery store, after 90 days, get the option to buy into an insurance plan that's reasonable, some costing only $5 a week out of their paychecks. There is no reason that these talents who give you what they give you, wrestlers like Draws, who ended their way of life in the name of professional wrestling, should not have health insurance. And WWE and any other company that practices it should be ashamed, because they record record profits, but then try and turn around and justify, oh, we contract them as independent contractors, so they know we don't offer insurance. Take the higher ground and offer the goddamn insurance. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, saying F you, Vince McMahon.